2012 Volkswagen GTI. It's got a leaking fuel injector on number 2. Also got to pull off the intake, carbon blast the valve, back of the valve. Not carbon blasting, it's walnut blasting. Then we're also gonna do the water pump. The first thing you gotta do is take off this. If you turn this up, then you can get to both sides of these little squeeze clamps. Squeeze them, get them off. Just squeeze it and wiggle it. There you start unplugging all the things off the throttle body and off the intake as you can. This little harness will stay with the car. This is your evap purge valve. These are a common leaker. If you get rough running conditions and things like that, you can always check these valves. I like to do that. You get hoses off, then you get the T30, get these 2 bolts out. One. You will have to take off the oil filter to get the intake off, so I use a strap wrench to get it off if I'm gonna reuse it, or you could just change it too. Up with this. There's little tabs, you can just pick up on them and get that cover to come off. And then you can pull this out of here. And what I like to do, this one right here. And I go right down in here next, because there's a tab on this side and there's a tab on the other side. So I can get into here and I can dislodge that tab like that. And it comes out a little bit. And then you can pull the whole thing out. 2 little bolts, one here and the other one just on the other side. If you take a flashlight, you will see them very easily. I just know where they are, so I don't need a flashlight anymore. Disconnect this, so I get, it's a 7mm. They always are 7s, unless somebody's changed it. If it's not a 7, then somebody's changed it, and you have that idea now. So just unscrew it for a bit. Another pick tool, which is, for me, the same one, and I work it around this gasket in the intake boot here and try and use it to help break the seal. Just make sure you are not jamming it through the rubber, that's all. Towards the metal, and use that to work around it and work around it, so that way it gets it loose. So you can see where that pick tool is poking against. That is one T30, the other one is accessible from the bottom, because the stubby bit makes it just the right length. So I get my electric ratchet down there. There we go. At the bottom, we gotta get the charge pipe loose again with the big pick tool. Just get that clip, wiggle that out. Don't need extension on it anymore. Oh, bolted in. That's coolant. I was like, that's probably the water pump leaking that I told him he's gonna need. Oh, it's leaking at the bridge depth right there. Look at that. So let's finish getting this off. We know we have a particular plan of action. Ow, there we go. I got it loose. Well, you gotta unplug that sensor, which I should have done from the top, because you can actually get to it from the top very easy. But I'm gonna unplug that sensor, then I turn it and rotate it out while I get down. So this is what I use to get this loose without damaging the filter, because it's a strap wrench, so you just do that and it'll turn it. You can also use this on jars or anything else that is this size. I'm sure a lot of people in the comments are gonna be yelling at me saying you can't reuse that oil filter. Love to agree with you, but I've only done it, I don't know, a couple 100 times and it works fine. Maybe it's not ideal, sure, I don't know, but customers don't want to replace them if they don't have to, and I understand. So get all these loose. This you can just, it's a little clip, you can undo that. I tuck this back here, just keep it out of my way. Got this off, so we need to disconnect this little hose. That one, unplug that cam sensor. Gonna need to dislodge the high pressure fuel pump. It's a 17, open end box wrench. Just get around the nut there somehow. I usually can do that, or you can go here, down like this, underneath, and then crack it slightly loose. Flip the wrench, crack it a little bit more loose, let it depressurize. You can also take out the airbox if you want to. There's usually one 5mm down there to undo that clamp and just pick up the whole thing. It's on some rubber mounts. You can do that if you want to. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Just kind of depends on what I'm doing and how much access I need. But once you get this high pressure fuel pump broke loose, it should spin off with your fingers. It shouldn't be that hard to get off. If it is, then something else is not straight. I'm also going to show you how to get this off the most effective way possible, because there are several ways of doing it, and there are some that suck more than others. I will agree, because I've done all of them. The main thing you want to make sure to disconnect is these connectors. These is your injectors, and this is some of your control wires and stuff for sensors. I like to reach under there and lift the tab, locking tab with my tool, my pick tool, and then pull the connector out instead of trying to fight it the other way. I don't even know if this one's got it seems like it does. There we go. Then this green one, you don't even have to unplug. You just got to get it out of this harness adapter, because this will stay plugged in. It doesn't have to be unplugged. It doesn't help you in any way. One, the throttle needs to be disconnected. I'm going to be very interested to pull this off because I know that somebody else has been in this engine before. But before, it was for a door lock not working. And it turns out the door from this 2012 Volkswagen GTI is from a 2010 Volkswagen GTI. I actually had to do a little modifications to get the door locks and the stuff like that to work because it didn't have the electrical components built into the door that it should have had. So anyway, this is a bit of a hodgepodge car. So if I seem shocked about finding things, that's why. All right, so what I've gotten to now is I've gone ahead and taken out all the intake bolts. There's 5 on the top and 2 on the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 2, one's through this hole and one's through that hole. Those are all the bolts. Then there's 2 nuts. There's one right there and there's one right there. They're 10mm nuts. Here's all the bolts. Here are all the bolts. The bolts and the 2 nuts. You will need a magnet to grab, preferably grab both of these, but you can see where that stud is right there. So now we got to pull. So now I should have everything disconnected. This one does not have the, there's a little bracket that goes under the bottom here and that will sometimes support the intake. Lots of people tend to leave those off. This one it's missing. So we got one more plug down here that I can get to. It's a straight pick tool. It's for the intake flaps. Just a little electrical connector. There we go. There. All right, that one's unplugged. There is a wire that is attached. Sorry about all the banging. Lift up this little tab. It just unclips. Just pick up the end of this, lift it up, and then pull this wire out and do that. That's it. This wire is this wire. So this wire will feed back through, and you'll have to leave this with the car. You also have to disconnect, you have to unclip it from there. So we'll do that, and then I'm gonna pull off this intake. All right, as you can see, we got that wire undid. Now, this part is frustrating. Ooh, this wasn't so bad. That one actually came out pretty easy, which is kind of an indicator that nobody's changed the injector seals. So now I gotta figure out what thing is holding me down. I always do this every time. Oh, I see. Oh, all of the injectors stayed in. Fantastic. This is the worst and the best outcome that could have happened because it will show us what we can do here. This is one of the most frustrating ways of getting this out. Usually if you pull back on this intake, the injectors will stay stuck in the intake and they'll come out with it, and then we pull it off and everybody's happy. This did what I would expect that it sometimes does, which is the injectors stay stuck in the cylinder head. So I'm gonna show you how to get those connectors off, and it's not really that complicated. Just needs another pick tool. Pick tools are your friend. Get a little right angle pick tool and a long screwdriver. Put a flashlight here so you can see. And then what I end up doing is I just gotta pull this back. I get down here, I reach the connector, I dislodge the tab, and then push back on the connector like that with the screwdriver. You'll be able to unclip it and it'll slide out. There we go. And there's one more route that I'm forgetting. Oh, this hose. There's a little vacuum line that goes right here. The last route is this little vacuum line here. Also, this thing's held up by the studs. There's studs for those 10s are on. Just it's fine to set them on that. Also helps you guide them into place when you're putting it back on. So don't ignore that. It's also got vacuum on it, so you'll have to get the vacuum to let go and then you can get it out. So now, should be all that we gotta do. Oh, I remember the last thing. The last thing. It's been a minute since I've done one of these. It's right there. Fuel pressure sensor. Looks like somebody's beating the crap out of it too. Connector's broke. It's destroyed. So what I do with that is I go to my buddy, the pick tool. It should come down from the top here. I don't even know if it's got a tab on it anymore. Seems like it must. So let me get that disconnected and then we'll get the intake out. All right, wire's disconnected. Now we can just get the whole thing out. And see, if the injectors were to stay in there, then these would all still be plugged in like that one is. And then here we can immediately see, and this is why I wanted to look with my camera my bore scope before I even took off this intake was to confirm that, yes, that water pump is very broke. This is the top of it and the plastic breaking off. And so that's the gasket right there. So yeah, it's starting to leak out of that too. So we're gonna replace this water pump lines. We're gonna walnut blast the valves because they're all nice and gross. And we'll get some better shots of that stuff. But first thing I'm gonna do is pull out all these injectors, get everything all prepped for that. Here's the tool we use to get injectors out. This is a bad injector for starters. So I went ahead and pulled the O-ring off because it makes it a little easier to fit this over the back. This is just a itty bitty little slide hammer. It comes in the injector kit if you have one of these, and you just grab a hold of it, give this like nice little taps. There you go, it'll come out.
Does it come with the Teflon installers?
Yeah.
Nice.
But I know this one's leaking, so this one we're gonna throw away and replace. And yes, to answer the question, this is our injector kit. The slide hammer is the part that's missing, but this is what you use to get the, I'll show you how to use this kit in a minute once I get to that point, but we're gonna start with walnut blasting. After much aggravating frustration with the damn blast media, or the blasting tool, which that one's freaking useless. This one works, but I had to fix it again from, anyway. There's a whole big to-do about it today. Clean, dirty, and dirty. Cold start misfires. So now you can do 2 banks at a time. If you get, like right now 3's open, because the firing order is 1, 3, 4, 2. And so I know that 3 is just starting to open the intake valve, so it's on its intake stroke. So that means this one would open next and these 2 are gonna stay shut. I already did these 2 because 2 was open and then 1. And so then I had to cycle, after you finish these, you want to roll the engine over and open up this valve and close these 2, because now we're gonna do those. So I'll give you a little quick clip of what it's like doing this while I'm actually doing it. Tools of the trade. I got this 3D printed intake adapter. So this fits in the intake right there, and I can stick the nozzle of the blower or blaster right through there. And then it's rudimentary, but it works. It works fine. So we'll hit this first cylinder. Let me double check. All right. So yeah, they're both good and closed. Turn on the vacuum cleaner. Fire away! So that'll have gotten it a little bit. It's helped cleaned off some of it, but what I'm gonna have to do, I'll show you what it looks like right now. So, as you can see, it's kind of made it a little bit shiny. So what I'm gonna end up doing is I have to use these. I gotta use these pick tools to get down in there and pick off some of these chunks to get it started. And I use this one. This is the little hook one that you get in the set. And you know what's great about this? I'll have you know, it happens to fit just perfectly wrapping around the valve to scrape the back of it. So basically I hook it around and then I go up and down, and then I'll go the other way and go up and down, so that way I can knock off the junk off the back. So there's blasting, then scraping, then blasting, then scraping, then blasting and scraping, then blowing and cleaning and making sure it's empty of nuts. The reason we use walnuts is because if there's anything left in there, they'll just burn out and you'll smell like wood. That's pretty much the process. It's just really tedious. This is after I just scraped it. That's how much junk is on the walls of the cylinder and on the back of the valve and stuff like that. So this one I did not scrape yet. So you see how that looks better. This one I scraped it, and all that junk down there is all the carbon that came off the side. Now I'll blow some air through here and vacuum this up, and then we'll start walnutting again, etc., ad nauseum, until this thing comes out clean. I'll spare you the specifics. Finally done with all the blasting, cleaned up the surface, that way the intake gasket sits on right. Don't forget to clean these off too. They will also be all carboned up. I just use a razor blade and scrape it back and forth. Let's get this water pump out of here. So I see somebody has broke off this bolt, or it never was installed. Or I think it's broke. There should be a bolt there, or an ear there for that. There's a T30 under here. We're gonna get this cross pipe out, then we get this cover off, then you unplug everything, take this pipe out, and you disconnect the hoses, and off the whole thing comes. It's not super complicated. I'll even let you watch. Honest to goodness, this is probably one of my most used tools. Let's just go ahead and unplug that, get it out of the way so we don't pull it too tight. I like to pull off the big hose first and let the coolant drain out before I pull off the small ones. If you drop the connector, it's all right, or the clip, you can put it back on. Sometimes I just take the clip off and put it on the toolbox. And then it takes some wiggle, wiggle. So I'm applying pressure downward while wiggling. There we go. And then I'll just take that, put it down. And that gets most of your coolant out. Then the next one's easier to get to, which is right there. Another clip. And that one just came off pretty easy, or came open. Shake, shake, shake. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Ah! I can take it out of its clamp here. If only I had a pick tool. Take this one back up, pull this one down. Ah, there we go. I'm also quite interested in changing all the coolant. Also, I dropped one of the intake bolts and I just found it. Fell under the, I'll get it when it's on the ground. And this one is a little bit irritating because you got to go backwards with it. Can't really go forward. And so it makes it kind of frustrating to put back on, but it's definitely doable. Don't think that it's not something you can do. Just have to get creative with pulling on stuff to make it work. So like I said, I like to use my pick tools and get under this hose. Sometimes you gotta poke the side of it, not the side, but like the front. There we go, now we got under it. So this breaks the seal that's kind of formed right at the bottom of this pipe. You can just feel it. Right there. With a bolt. That one's actually, that's the one that should be right there, because the one that's in there is usually a little longer. But whatever, it's fine. It'll work. Also make sure to change this O-ring. And secondly, to get this pipe all the way out, disconnect this little tab. Push the little button that's in the center of it, which is the clip, and then try not to stab yourself. And you get that off and you can work this out. And I just broke that clip in there because this thing normally held down. Ah, there we go. There. So we'll get a new O-ring for this. And now we're pretty much ready to pull out the pump, except we got to get this cover off now. So you got one from the back or side. Oop. Don't tell me somebody stripped it before I got to it, because usually that will come right off that way. So let's crack it loose. There. Crack that one. Oh, somebody put them on tight. So one's longer than the other. The longer one goes in the bottom because it's just longer. Now what you have is what they call a timing belt, but it's not actually one. It's just a tooth belt. This is the tooth belt. This runs on the water pump shaft, which is it's a balance shaft, or like a balance shaft. It might even be the balance shaft. I can't remember the specific internals. I never had to replace it or take it apart. So anyway, just get a screwdriver, pop that off. I do it like this. I just take the screwdriver and work it on that end first, then this end next, and then back over here. Little working to and fro, and you'll pop it out. And there you go. Because we're replacing this pump, and so we don't need to be careful with this. When we put it back on, I'll show you how to get it back on. It can be a little frustrating. Now with that off, we can just do these 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 is under this connector. So there's 2 right there, 2 right there, and then 1 right there. These should only be torqued. Oh, that's way too long. Good Lord. That's better. These should only be torqued to 9 Newton meters when you torque them back down. So I just get them all loose. But yeah, somebody else has been up in here. And also we have an upgrade kit for this, honestly. And they didn't, what in the hell? This thing is being frustrating today. I think they stripped that. I can't get a bite on that one. Usually that one's easy. Let's try that. Turn it away from it. There we go. Although I still think they stripped it. Hopefully my new pump usually comes with new bolts too. Ah, there we go. I think I got it loose. Yeah, I did. Barely got it loose. Let's see. Somebody else come on in here and strip this out for me. Yeah, pretty much. Oh well, it's got enough bite that I can get it out, so I ain't worried. It's when you can't get it out that's the problem, and that's when you start throwing things. Sometimes these also should typically have Loctite on them, so they might be kind of tough coming out. As you could hear the ratchet struggle for a second, and you can see there's, well, I think this is mostly rust for this car. This car is very much a special case in everything. I was like, I'm missing one. To get this out of the rest of the way, there is a bridge adapter right here, meaning it goes from the water pump housing to the oil cooler, and it allows coolant to flow through to cool your oil. Anyway, so to get this out, pull on this side, and it'll dislide. There's 2 studs. There's one there and one there, and you got to get them off the studs before it'll come out. Otherwise, you're going to sit here and beat your head against the wall for a while. So you can either pry it a little bit like that, get it off the studs, and then pop. Then you got to pull it out, and there you go. And we can see right where it was leaking, right where I said it was leaking. And this is just some junk. So, yep, it just cracked right through. You can see where I can stick the screwdriver straight into it, through the gasket and everything. So yeah, that was gonna leak. Now we can clean all that up. This is a bit of a unique one here. This is a 12, and it's reverse threaded. So you gotta tighten it to get it to come loose. There's no way you're gonna get a torque wrench on that, so you're just gonna have to tighten it when you tighten it. And 2, if you don't get this bolt tight enough, this thing will spin on that shaft. So if you're feeling froggy, go for it. You're gonna need something similar to this. This is my tool that I bought specifically for this. It's just a Matco, it's 12. It's got a ratcheting on one end and a box end on the other. And so I use this to get on that bolt. Because if you try to use a standard wrench, it doesn't bite it very well. It's really hard to get it on there, and it doesn't want to grab. So you need this depth here, but that's about it. And remember, you have to go up with it. And so when you do that, you counter hold it by holding the crankshaft, which is a 24 millimeter 12 point. And you're gonna have to figure out which way it makes it go. I can't remember off the top of my head. I always think it goes one way and then I'm wrong and it went the other. But anyway, I'm gonna clean off all this, get this belt changed, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's apart. All right, got that off, got the surfaces cleaned up so they're nice and smooth. Let me show you what we got here. We got our water pump, which is Rein, R-E-I-N, UPU, or WPU 0016. Comes with this bolt, comes with this little belt, and this is what you took off the car. And see what I mean by it's tapered, so this will fit in there like that. and that's how it recesses in there, and that will sit on the shaft because this is also tapered. So you have to put it on with the belt too. So you got to install it like this. It can be rather tricky, but once you've done it a few times, you just kind of set it in there as such, and then you got to turn that bolt, remember, backwards to get it to thread. I think I got it actually. Usually I use 2 fingers. I just do one finger from one hand this way and the other one on the other side coming up. So we'll tighten that down and then we'll get the new water pump installed. How I tighten it is I have a, see that's my ratchet on, 1/2-inch ratchet with a 24 on the crankshaft. Hold this one because it's gonna try and go the normal direction because you're spinning this. And so you can tighten it. And the other thing you can do is, say if your ratchet's right here and you can't go anymore, move the crank. And so you can move the crank up and then tighten it some more, and then move the crank up and tighten it some more. I already tightened it. So when you go to do this, if you're doing this yourself, just keep in mind how much effort it took to take it off and try and replicate it, putting it back on. That's the only advice I can give you for that. 'Tis the following morning, and now we are going to put on this pump. We finished up pretty late yesterday, so. All right, so you're gonna have that knock sensor there. I'm gonna show you how to wiggle this thing in to get it in there right, with a couple little tricks. Also, like I said, we started using these aluminum housings because they break less, because they're not made of plastic, and they aren't subject to the plastic problems that the oil gives. So anyway, here's what we call the bridge adapter. So this is a bridge adapter. It's also called a connector. It connects that to this, the water pump. So I put dielectric grease on both of these O-rings because they're not going to affect the coolant, they're not going to affect the oil, they're not going to affect, well, there's no oil in it, but it's not going to make the seal swell. I'm not using oil, it's just some dielectric grease. So anyway, make sure that this part stays in, because when you're using these aluminum ones, these tend to loosen up and just kind of drift. So just keep an eye on that. But I put dielectric grease on both of those so that way these connectors will fit in easily. So I put the connector in, I kind of wiggle it over there, keep it a little light and loose, get this belt. You're gonna have to find the spot where it gets into the teeth, because you can't really drop this pump down a bunch because just how it's made. However, you will be able to get it on with your finger. So I got it started, so now I can just kind of walk it on there the same way I took it off. And there we go, pump's on, or the belt's on, connector's still in. So then we just get it up on the studs, and now it'll stay. And also, like I said, it did come with new bolts with Loctite already on them, so when you go to put them in, it's gonna get tight pretty quick because that Loctite's gonna engage. So I usually just get one started, then I get all of them started by hand, and then I go in and run them down. The one you really want the screw, the ratchet for is this one, and the other one, because this bottom one's kind of a pain. Torque sequence is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a 9, I believe. I'll double check by looking it up, but I always start in the middle here to just kind of get the pump pulled flat. And I like to do this by hand because it's such a particular piece, so. There. Then once I get that one started, then I can do the rest, because they should all be, should all be started. And also, don't go too hard. It's not going that slow because it's tight. It's going that slow because I'm not pulling the trigger. Because I'm not trying to tighten it, I'm just trying to run it in. Yep. Ha. Torque spec, 9 Newton meters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just like I said. Sweet. I still know what it is. I always torque down the water pumps. I like to go over them twice. Alright, so now don't forget to put this cover on, because I've done that before, put the intake on and then realized the cover was sitting over there, and that was very frustrating. I'll be honest with you, it does not like going back in when everything else is installed. So remember, long bolts bottom. Like these, I'm not going to torque these bolts, I'm just going to get them tight. I will check them by hand though, because they are going into plastic and I don't know how tight that made it. So I just give them a little, as the saying would go, wrist tight. Now we can start hooking up the hoses and making this thing less of a catastrophic mess. It's the furthest one. Also, these things should really only fit on one thing. Remember, we got the clip over here. So this one, we pulled the clip out. So all you gotta do to put it back is merely just kind of set it back on and make sure it's through. You know, you can see it on both sides. Also, don't be alarmed getting the aluminum pump. Ones on can sometimes be a bit of a struggle. Those went on pretty easily for that time though. Heater pipe O-ring. They call it a heater pipe O-ring because this goes through there, into there, and through the heater pipe. You're gonna want to get this hose in first, and you might need to reach under and pull. Come on, get in there. There we go. And then just make sure all your clips and hoses and stuff are out of the way. Let's try these. These are more unidirectional because of how they bite. These are, I think, Nipix? Yeah. Nipix Cobra. Looks like a little Tyrannosaurus Rex. Oh, I gotta tell you the other very important thing that I hope you haven't started doing the job by the time you get to this point in the video. Hope you watch the whole video before you do it. Because you have to vacuum fill these cars. Use an airlift system, whatever you want to call it, I don't care. But you need the vacuum filling system, which is, you'll see in a little bit. Because actually, it's not even going to be that far away. It's going to be like right now. Because with this pipe hooked up, we've now sealed the system. The intake, there's no coolant going through the intake or the throttle or anything like that. So at this point, we can vacuum down and check our cooling system for leaks and then even fill it up. Last executive decision, I ended up running the wires over the top because I was having a hard time getting this connector in and I didn't want to stress the harness. I'm pretty sure it does go on the top. It seemed good, it wasn't good. So this is a coolant refill system. This is from Snap-on. They call it a coolant system refill tool. I call it a vacuum fill. It uses the Venturi system to fill up coolant and pulling a vacuum. So you have both valves off, you hook up the air supply, hit it, grab the hose that's flailing around, watch it pull a vacuum. Once it gets into the green, you're good, and it should hold it when you're done. So I let it go to pretty much it stops moving, and then that's good enough. All right, close it, disconnect it, and we watch it for about a minute. Make sure it doesn't move. Also make sure you get down at like an eye level, wherever it's like centered, and say, okay, that's where it is. I'm about right here. It's 25, 26, 27, so it's at 27. So then we let it sit for a minute. It's been about a minute, so we're gonna use some Xerox Valvoline premixed coolant, which is really what Volkswagen and all the manufacturers want you to use because it's got the right kind of water in it. They don't like using regular old water in cooling systems anymore if you can avoid it. So once you get this all, you stick the end in the bottle and then you open up the suction valve and it starts filling. Keep an eye on it though, because if you're not paying attention, it will suck air right into it and you'll kind of defeat the whole purpose of doing this. So keep an eye on both. I let it get to about 5 on these systems, on this particular car, mostly Volkswagens in general. I let it get about 5 and then I open it all up because there's a little play at the top. Otherwise you'll fill it straight to the tip top, and that's not what you need. So we need a little bit more coolant. I'm pretty much out. Let me grab another bottle. Not totally full, but full enough. And it should reach about there. That'll hit the air, yep. And then this level goes down to where it should be. This bottle's empty. Everybody's happy. So my last test I like to do before I go ahead and put the intake and put it all back together is I pressure test the cooling system now. Once I got a vacuum filled, we know it doesn't have any leaks. I put it up to about 15 PSI. And then I just come in and give everything a little wiggle. Make sure it's all stable and tight and not gonna come off. All the little hose connections that I messed with, just give them a little jiggle. You don't have to shake the crap out of them, just because if they're gonna pop loose, they will pop off. I have popped a few off before because I didn't quite get the clip all the way onto the neck, things like that. I would rather find out here than driving down the road. All right, now I'm gonna show you how to reseal an injector. I already cut this one off, but I'll show you what I did to get it off because I gotta cut this one off too. So this is a O-ring cutter, and it kind of does that and just kind of breaks them a little bit. And so then I just take this and use a pick tool to reach under there and then pop it off. And there you go. So now that we have it off, make sure we clean it real good. Just get a rag and wipe the seat area real good. I personally like to change this little stand because it's got that in there. So just use a pick tool, kind of lift these and lift up. It's kind of irritating because as soon as one lets go, another one clips on. Again, wipe down. This top piece comes off too. This comes off, the O-ring comes off. This little thing I already changed because we have a whole kit with all of it. So give it a good wipe down. Make sure everything's nice and clean. Just try not to pack anything into the end of this because that's where it sprays. So let's get our new parts. We got our new little TV pizza holder. If you're an old guy like myself, comes in the center of a pizza box. Then of course you got your little black O-ring thing there, your regular O-ring, and now finally the Teflon part. This is the interesting part. So let's go get the tool. This is the installer. You put that over this as such. Then you have a bunch of different dies that help work this thing up. Ooh, so close. And so you just gotta kind of, it's really annoying to work with, honestly, but there, now it's on there, but now we gotta shrink it down. So there should be an even bigger die that'll fit over the whole thing like this. It'll fit over the whole thing. You push down, then you pick up, then you can flip it over, and it should fit around it. It might not. I might have had to take this part off, but let's see if this one fits. Yep. So you can use this one, shrink it down even more, and then should be just a little bit of a lip. I don't want to go too crazy because I want it to seal. But yeah, it should just be like a little bit of a bump. And there you go. You have changed your O-ring, your Teflon ring. So that's how you do it. It's not overly complicated, but it is takes a little bit of finesse and patience, lots of patience.